But today, I really wanted to talk about honoring your child through the holiday season. It's actually something I'm kind of excited about talking about, which feels weird because, of course, me finding ways to honor Orion doesn't replace his presence, doesn't make it better that he's not here with me, physically present, opening presents at Christmas, giving me hugs, giving me kisses. But I realized that the reason that you should be honoring your child during the holidays is because it helps make you feel better. And yes, that sounds self-serving, but really that's what your grief journey is. Finding the ways that you can support yourself, support your grief, and try and find a way to move forward. And so I think I'm excited about talking about this because I'm hoping that I can share with you some ideas that would make you feel a little bit better. And I tried to come up with some unique ones. I'm also sharing some personal ones that I'll be doing this year. But I also really want to encourage you to think about what makes you happy and then figuring out a way to do that over this holiday season. And maybe that's you're crafty and you'd like to use that talent to, I don't know, make some holiday cards and give them out at your child's school or maybe at a nearby retirement home where there are people that maybe aren't getting any holiday cards this year. It doesn't all have to be around your child specifically. I think it's more about doing anything that helps make you feel better, maybe even reminds you of something about your child that might not even be obvious to anybody else. But it's not about doing it for other people, as maybe bad as that sounds. It's about doing it for you. And really, I think that's what makes it beautiful, that if all of us just found the thing that we enjoyed doing and used that in service of somebody else this holiday season, there would be so many amazing things that would be happening as a result of our children who've passed. So for me this year, my intuition led me to this email that I came across for Thanksgiving potluck for my son Maverick, Orion's twin brother, school. They're doing for all the staff. And they have a really large staff, larger than any school staff that I ever, attended. And I saw the sign up sheet and it started with me just going through and finding things on the list that they needed that were stuff I had in excess around my house already. Like they needed paper plates and they needed napkins and they needed some plastic utensils, which I happen to already have all of those. So it was no big deal for me to sign up to contribute that. But then when I started looking through the list of the other things that they were asking for, they needed side dishes for their Thanksgiving potluck. And for the vegetable casseroles, nobody had signed up yet. And they were looking for 10 people to sign up. And for some of the other casserole options, like there was a starch casserole option, they had, I think, 2 or 3 people had signed up. And then there was just your preference casserole, and they'd had 2 people sign up for that too. But they're looking to feed like almost 100 people. And so I just immediately felt horrible to think about these staff members at this school who work so hard all year long to create a safe and welcoming environment for not only my son Maverick, but so many other children at this school, and that their Thanksgiving potluck was going to maybe look a little bleak or be nothing but store-bought food, which can be good, but I feel like generally in those situations where you're trying to feed a lot of people, it ends up meaning that you buy whatever you can stretch the furthest with your dollar and not, the top end pre-made casseroles or to-go food. So I really just felt called to try and help that. And lately, I've been getting into cooking. If any of you follow me on Instagram, you saw me share a couple days ago that um, my grandfather passed away about a month ago. And he really enjoyed cooking, and he had an Instant Pot, which I didn't own one of those. So I assumed ownership of it with the permission of my mom, of course. And I've been using it to learn pressure cooking, which I've never done before, and make fresh homemade food, which has really been feeding into the signs I've been receiving from angels recently about needing to take care of myself and my health and resting. And so it's just really been making me find some contentment in life, getting to cook homemade fresh food. And so I thought, why don't I use that and make some homemade fresh food for these teachers? So I signed up to do a green bean casserole because although that wasn't a staple in my Thanksgiving childhood, kind of gratefully so, because I didn't really like green beans as a kid. But I know it's a comfort food for a lot of people on Thanksgiving. And I'm making a recipe that includes a mushroom sauce from scratch. None of that canned stuff, though the canned stuff can be part of the comfort, but I'm going to do it from scratch. And then I found a recipe for a butternut squash casserole that has some bacon and two different kinds of cheese. I can make it gluten-free, which I've been trying to eat gluten-free just because it makes me feel better. So I wanted to be mindful of that. And I signed up to take basically a double batch of each of those. And after I signed up, I realized I'm not just doing that for Maverick to help out at Maverick's school, but it's really also a way that I honor Orion because he would have been going to that school too. Those would have been his teachers. That would have been his, place to go and learn and feel safe. And so it made me feel good to think about that I'd found something that fed into what I'm currently really enjoying and using that in service of somebody else this holiday season. And, somebody else invited me to go on Thanksgiving and serve food at a homeless shelter. And I'll be honest, that's not something that I would ever sign up to do on my own. I wouldn't feel comfortable going by myself, even though I'm sure it's safe. But it just, for me, would not be my first thought. And I realized how beautiful that is, that we all get to be enticed or interested in doing different things, different types of service. We don't all have to show up volunteering for a school's potluck. And I'm totally comfortable going along with my friend and not by myself. So it's another way that I'm going to serve. But recognizing that we can do it in so many different unique ways. Last year, the ways that I focused on had a lot more to do with children and presents, kind of. Like I thought about, actually, I did donate a wooden train set to a local Secret Santa organization or Toys for Tots because Orion loved playing with little wooden magnetic train sets. And I thought about how he was always carrying Matchbox cars around and that those could be something I could donate to. And, they have those trees that they generally set up, I think, in like Walmarts or other stores like that, where you can take down a child's name and it includes their sizes in clothing and you buy them clothes. I remember doing that as a kid with my mom for other kids that were on the Christmas tree. And now I think it would be beautiful if I, came across one of those trees to do that for a child who's Orion's age or the age he would be now, because I don't get to shop for clothes for him anymore. But how great would it feel to buy things that I think Orion would be excited about wearing for another little child to wear that isn't going to have that opportunity otherwise. And even things more simple and subtle, like I know Orion's favorite color was orange, and I thought about wrapping every Christmas present with orange ribbon because it would just be a small way to keep Orion part of the holiday celebrations. Even if nobody else knew that that's what it meant, I would know. And, other subtle ways like Orion really loved eating at Chick-fil-A. And I've thought about paying for the next person in line at Chick-fil-A at the drive-thru. They don't need to know about my son, but I will know that it's something that is another way that I think of him and remember him. And I guess that last thing that I've been thinking about recently is I saw this post recently on Instagram and I reshared it in my stories. It was a screenshot of a text conversation of a child, probably about 10, but I don't really know how old he was, maybe older, maybe 14, texting this other child his same age. And he was like, "Hey bro, are you there?" In the text, and then nothing. And then it says like a couple days later, "Hey, just checking in on you. Haven't seen you logged into the video game lately. And, I miss playing the game with you," or something along those lines. I'm not quoting directly. And then the next text bubble appears and it's the response from the other boy's phone. And it's his mom responding on his behalf. These things shouldn't make me so emotional. But I guess it's because I can picture what it was like for this mom to respond to this other young kid and tell them that her son always talked about this boy that he played video games with that he really liked spending time with, but that her son passed away a few days prior from his cancer. And she just wanted to let that first boy know how much she appreciated that he'd been a friend to her son. And the Instagram post was talking about how we never know, what somebody's going through. And I think as grievers, we resonate with that so much, right? Because we so often think about that, especially in the beginning, that we wish someone could just look at us and tell. We'd like a badge. We'd like some way that was identifiable to explain without having to say it out loud that we're feeling hurt inside, that we're struggling, that we're experiencing pain that you can't see. And I've been thinking about how often, especially in the beginning, that I thought about that for myself, that I wanted people to just be able to tell by looking at me. And that it wasn't always obvious. And it makes me wonder about the reverse of how many times am I coming across somebody throughout my day who's having a hard day, who's struggling with some things that I can't see from the outside. And is there anything that I could do, even for a complete stranger, in that moment when our paths cross, that could make their day a little bit lighter? And I think about the times that other people who crossed my path did something seemingly innocuous, but it made that day a little bit easier to bear for me. And sometimes that was even when I was able to help somebody else in times when I felt like I could barely help myself. So if this holiday season is particularly hard for you if it's the first one without your loved one and you're feeling like you're barely surviving and you don't know. You don't know how you're going to make it through Thanksgiving, through Christmas, through whatever holidays you celebrate with you and your family. Just try and focus on finding whatever little ways in each day that you can try and find some contentment, even just fleetingly for a moment or two, that you held the door open for somebody. I don't know, maybe your child loves ice cream and you bought somebody their ice cream at Dairy Queen, in the drive-thru, or whatever's your version of a local ice cream store. And then maybe you cry so hard after that because you wish it was your kid you were buying the ice cream for. But for that brief moment, you did something nice for somebody else. You brightened their day a bit while you were thinking about your child. And I think finding those moments, creating them, intentionally seeking them out, can help you find a way to get through the holidays. And you can find those ways in whatever most speaks to you. Even if it's you cook up a storm in your own kitchen and have somebody else deliver the food so you never leave your house, or you make all the holiday cards and somebody else delivers them to the recipients. I don't think that there's any kindness too small, and I don't think there's any kindness that you could do that wouldn't help you at all. So let's all of us try and spend the rest of this year spreading some kindness on behalf of our children, making every day a little bit more beautiful as a result of them.